I like to have a lot of variety in my life, I suppose. It's not just me going to bed and thinking, oh yeah, I screwed that person over today, I had a good day or anything like that.
Back in the day when I first came into solar, there was a lot of talk about this inspector who never got out of the car. Apparently he would pull up to a job and he would have a look and he'd go, yep, he'd tick it off.
I tell you what, I would hate to be an electrician at the moment, just a house bashing Sparky or whatever, who doesn't know anything about solar or batteries. It'd be bloody scary, I reckon.
This one here actually freaks a lot of customers out.
Yeah.
Toxic fumes.
Especially the skull and crossbones you got on there.
Okay, Pat Southwell, licensed electrical inspector and auditor for Solar Victoria. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me in here, Luke. Great to be here.
Great to be here. Yeah, it's good to see you. Now, tell me, as an inspector, what's that like? What do you wake up in the morning? And when you wake up in the morning or when you go to bed at night, what do you think about? You know, do you think about, was that a good day? Was it a bad day? Do you wake up the next day excited to get out there and see what defects you can find? Tell me about that.
I like to have a lot of variety in my life, I suppose. So it's not just me going to bed and thinking, oh yeah, I screwed that person over today, I had a good day or anything like that. It's certainly not like that. I do feel like I like doing different parts of the inspector role. So I like helping people, which is probably the most rewarding part of being an inspector. But yeah, catching stuff that's not right as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's actually probably the best part is when you see something that's unsafe and you catch it, and then you're like, okay, I actually have really saved something today. Someone, either whether it be livestock property or potentially someone's life.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's sort of how I approach it. I like to help people, and really want to help the industry thrive and become better.
So basically, like your day-to-day is you go out to solar installations and you check, you're looking for the good, but you're also looking for the bad.
Yeah, this is the thing. This is the thing. Like we see so much good out there, but I'm only really reporting on the bad. So unless I'm doing like prescribed inspections, which is when I'm signing off solar or battery installs, if I'm doing that, I'm actually working for my client is the electrician or the installer. So I'll give them a buzz and go, good job, did really well, like what you did there. I'll give them that feedback. But when you're doing like a government audit of some sort, you don't get the opportunity to give that good feedback and you're only really concentrating on the bad stuff.
So just to clarify on that, so if a solar installation or a battery installation is done in Victoria or any kind of modification to the mains, it's prescribed electrical work and it must be inspected. Now, that electrical contractor then has to book an electrical inspector, but they get to choose what electrical inspector they book.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
so you're working for the person
correct.
that you're auditing.
Well, that's not necessarily auditing. That's more that's seen as inspecting. Correct. That's right. That's right. So my client is the one who's installed it, and they're the ones who pay my bill at the end of the day. Yeah.
But you also, I'm not sure how much you still do, but you've also done work with Solar Victoria, auditing installations where it's essentially Solar Victoria is your
client. Well, it's actually TechSafe who've got the contract with Solar Victoria. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, correct. Yep, I've done a bunch of them. Yeah, for sure over the years.
So, I'm just interested by this. Well, I'm interested what other people think. Do you think there's a conflict of interest if a contractor is choosing the electrical inspector? Do you think there's potential issues there?
I don't know if it's a conflict of interest, but it's opened if it's not managed correctly. It's open to potentially fraud, to be honest. If you could potentially, there could be an inspector who's on the take who just decides, I'm just going to go around and maybe not even go and sign these jobs off, but I'm going to sign them and then work out an arrangement with the installer, and then that could end up being a bad. That could end up being a bad outcome for everyone. So, but look, that is a potential that it could happen. I have people ask me that, and when you're an electrical inspector, it's like any other sort of job where you're, I suppose, where you're pulling people up on things like sort of like a policeman or I don't know what else, a parking cop. I've been called a parking cop a few times, but that sort of thing. So you've actually, for me to keep my inspector's license, I've got to basically, I've got to sign all these documents to say I'm going to act in a way which is, I'm going to keep integrity as a value that I'm going to act by, and I'm going to be doing the right thing by the industry and making sure that I'm not going to be doing those type of things. So, but it's like anything. Like you could drive around speeding all day and probably get away with it as well. But at the end of the day, you're probably going to get caught.
Yeah, it's interesting. Back in the day when I first came into solar, I don't know, let's say 2018, 2019, there was a lot of talk about this inspector who never got out of the car. There was this inspector, apparently he would pull up to a job and he would have a look and he'd go, yep, he'd tick it off.
Yeah.
I never managed to get his number. I never met him, but we kept going, who is this guy? Who is this guy? And they go, I don't know.
Yeah.
But we did used to hear rumours about the inspector that never gets out of the car or never... I think potentially the inspector that never gets on the roof.
Yeah.
Because sometimes what we have from some of customers that we talk to, they say, they get 2 quotes, solar system, whatever it may be. One's $2,000 more than the other, and they go, "What's the difference?" They both get inspected, so surely they're to the both installations are to the same standard.
Yep.
Would you agree with that, or do you think that's potentially not the case?
I definitely think that's potentially not the case. I'll pretty openly say that I'll charge more than some inspectors do, and for me, it's not just about a service of signing off the system for me. So I would like to say that the installers I have working for me are better because of the amount of work and effort I put into them. And so I feel like it's not just like I'm liaising with them, I'm helping them manage their way through standards, almost like a bit of a helpline too. And I feel like that's a service I offer because I take my job really seriously and specialise in solar and batteries.
Yeah, I know over the years we've had really good relationships with our inspectors. And I know I've personally actually called you in the past with questions and you've been very helpful. And I think for us, that's always been a thing, is having that relationship with the inspector, especially when you're doing a lot of jobs. They almost do become part of the company. And I don't mean in a conflict of interest way, but in a way, in a training way, in the sense we can call them when we're on site and say, hey, we're thinking about doing this.
For sure.
What do you reckon?
Yep.
And they go, oh, that's a bit hairy. I wouldn't do that. I'd do this. I go, okay, cool. Well, I'd rather you tell us now.
Yeah, that's it. Like 2 heads better than one. And, usually a lot of the time I have an installer calling me up, asking me a question. I'm not really sure about this. What do you reckon? And I'll think of something that they hadn't thought of. And then they may even mention something that I haven't thought of as well. But together, 2 heads are better than one, and you work out a solution. And as long as we're both happy with that solution, you usually get a pretty good outcome. So I actually like the way the system works in Victoria, to be honest. I think it works quite good, but 100% it's open to abuse if someone decides they want to take the piss with it.
There's a possibility there. I think there might have been a couple inspectors that got their license cancelled a few years ago.
Yeah. I've heard that too. I don't know who they are or anything like that, but I've definitely heard that sort of stuff happening.
Yeah, I've heard there was a few things there where inspectors got held liable, or they definitely don't see everything. And I mean that's the whole point of when Solar Victoria do an audit, which is a very interesting scenario when TechSafe do an audit for Solar Victoria. And then Solar Victoria send the report to the installer and they say, we found this, this and this. And often the case from the homeowner or the installer is, hang on, this was installed by someone who has a license which says that they've got all these qualifications and they're okay to do it.
Yep.
It was inspected by someone else who's qualified to come and inspect it.
Yep.
And then 6 months later, someone from Solar Victoria comes and inspects it again and finds all these issues.
Yeah.
Why weren't they picked up earlier?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point. And I suppose you're always going to be having those differences of opinion when people have either had different levels of training or they've got different experiences as well. And I go to these inspector forums and talk to other inspectors, and we sit there and have disagreements about the way rules will be interpreted. That happens a lot.
How much of it do you think is open to interpretation?
There's a fair bit in there. I think there's a fair bit of grey. I reckon there's a fair bit of grey in the standard. See, this is the thing. The standards aren't actually there as an instruction manual. They're more there as a set of rules to go by, and then I'll say they're more of a guide, not to say that they're not mandatory, but they're more of a guide as far as the standards will not give you every single scenario in every single situation. So they'll give you a series of scenarios, and you have to apply what's in the standard to your scenario. And sometimes that can be a judgment call. And that's your grey area you're talking about. So But I think if you're methodical about it, this is the thing. Like, that's why I like to talk to other inspectors as well and see what they think about things, and sometimes have a robust discussion about. We might disagree on certain things, but as long as you can sort of see their point of view, and if you're willing to sort of stick to your guns, I thought that's sort of how I see it anyway.
So what do you think about the way the standards are laid out now? I mean, there's a whole bunch of standards, obviously the AS 3000, the 5000 and the 4777.
Yep.
And then obviously then the installers, they have to comply with manufacturing specs as well. Mm-hmm. So they will be dealing with the manufacturing specs of the inverter, of the battery, even of not panels, clamping zones, even of the racking and the wind rating.
Everything.
It's a lot.
Oh, mate.
It's the type of thing like, I compare people to AI a lot now because I use a lot of AI. I just think, I see things like humans are only capable of maintaining so much knowledge.
For sure.
In their brain. And a lot of the people that are actually installing these solar systems, because it's a tough gig, as we know.
Yeah.
A lot of them are younger, maybe anywhere from 22 to 28 or whatever. They're that's kind of the age bracket. They're probably doing the most from what I've seen. And I don't know. It's just I feel for them. Personally, I'll just got to say I've been off the tools for 5 years. I used to be on the tools as an installer, and now I run a company. I'm too busy to do it, so I'm not right there every day. But I do see all of the defects and the issues, and when there's problems, I always hear about it. So I see all the bad things. But yeah, I don't know. Like, do you think it's too much, the standards, or do you think it needs to be simplified or streamlined to make it just easier to understand for your average installer?
Look, you can unpack that a whole of a lot. So first thing I would want to say is that I think what we expect the standard solar electrician to be able to do and to what they need to be over, I think it's a lot, and it's actually quite remarkable what they can do. Especially you're talking about these people, they're quite young people. Probably a lot of them only just got their A grades or only just licensed. Still developing as people as well. This is the thing. They're still learning as people. Young adults, and we're asking them to do these type of things, retain a lot of knowledge and know where to go. So I just wanted to make that comment that I think we do ask a lot of them. Now, as far as is what's in the standards too much? In an ideal world, I would love to strip it all back and say, these are the things that are required, these are the things that aren't required, and basically start again. Because I feel like the way the standards are written and the way we end up interpreting the rules, there's a lot of legacy stuff there. I don't know how you ever get rid of all of that though.
Well, the problem with all the regulations in general is people just keep adding on, and then it just becomes so archaic, and there's just so much stuff there that doesn't matter. I recently went to see the Tesla Gigafactory in Shanghai. And before I went to see the Tesla Gigafactory in Shanghai, I read a book about Elon Musk and how he runs his companies. Isaac Walters, I think. And it was a lot about first principles engineering. So Elon, funnily, is very much an anti-regulation guy. He wants to strip everything back to first principles, the absolute fundamentals of what it needs, and then slowly build it back up and try and automate it and streamline it and make all the processes simple, particularly the processes that involve humans, because the humans are going to be a massive point of failure in the system. So we want to streamline it and simplify it as much as possible. And I just don't think that the attitude towards standards it's not in line with first principles. It's kind of the reverse of that. Like, they're just adding more and more stuff on. It's just so complicated and people just can't clearly understand it.
Oh, look, I agree. The way they are written is confusing to the lay person. There's no doubt about that. And then you talk about people who are in and out of it every day, and they're expected to know about these standards too, and I feel like that's a lot for them as well. Like, I feel like even me as a licensed electrical inspector, I've been in the solar industry for whatever it is, 16, 17 years now. Even just me knowing all of those sort of things, like there's no way I could be over all of it, and you've got to keep referring to staff.
Well, especially some of these guys are young business owners, and there's things like obviously safety is a big thing. So there's electrical standards, but then there's safety. There's like the OH&S Act of 2002 around like working at heights and blah, blah, blah. So obviously edge protection, harnesses and all this stuff. And it's all very serious. Like, I don't want to, I'm trying not to swear. I'm trying not to swear here, but let's just say like, it's the type of thing, electrical is serious stuff and working at heights is serious stuff. If you make a mistake, or if you have, you know, an enforcement officer from ESV or someone from WorkSafe come and you're doing the wrong thing, you're in some big legal issues.
Yeah, no, so most definitely.
It's kind of like for these young guys, I feel like they almost like need, not only do they need to know the standards inside out, they always need like a lawyer to kind of explain and interpret them.
For sure.
You know, here's what's going on. Here's what could happen if you do that. Here's potential fines. So make sure you do this and this. It's a lot to take in.
Yeah, look, I think that's also a lot of the way it's written and those sort of things. I think that's these government departments or whoever are these in regulators, like they're just covering their tracks, I think. It may not be easy for other people in the industry to be able to understand these things, but I think that's why it's written that way. I don't know. I'm not really sure why it is so confusing.
To confuse people, so then they can come and give them fines.
Well, you'd like to hope that's not the case. But look, also if you go back to the way standards are actually written, right? I feel strongly that there's some people in some positions of power, whether they're on a standards committee or they're just very influential and make these sort of decisions. A lot of them are quite old, right, and quite maybe very experienced as well. But they've really set in their ways, right, and they think things should be a certain way, and that's just sort of it. And because of how much influence they have, trying to get these things changed, it's bloody hard. And that's, I hear that from people I speak to that are, in positions of power greater than me, obviously. But yeah, you hear those sort of things. I just wish we sort of move forward as a society.
We need someone to disrupt the industry, or do we need it feels like we're leaning towards that old, we're waiting for some people to die before we can eventually make some changes. Retire. We're waiting for some of the older people to retire before the young people could come in and shake it up.
But the problem is, by the time that happens, all the young people are old again, and then you have this cyclical thing, I was one of those young people one day, going, I'm going to make some changes. I'm going to do what I can. And now I'm halfway to being old. You know what I mean? So it's just hard.
I see you because I've spoken to you a bit now, and I see you as kind of like the mediator, between the old guys and the young guys. You're just kind of trying to keep the peace.
Look, it's true. A lot of the older guys aren't a big fan, because I do see things. I like change. I freaking spoon change to bed every night. I love change, right? I want things to change. Not just with, the way standards are and all those type of things, but I like change in my life. I like things to change. And I feel like that's how you get better and that's how you evolve. I don't like it when things stay the same.
Well, yeah, I'd really like things in the industry to just streamline a little bit better, because you look at the rollout of what we're trying to do. Solar was a massive thing, and now that we're kind of at the other end of the bell curve with that, and now batteries is kicking off, and it's going to be a big thing. And
sure.
The mission is to get as much batteries out there as possible to help people reduce their bills, to stabilize the grid, to help the environment. That's the mission that we want to get to, and we want to get there as cheaply as possible. If we're investing money in, if we're investing $2.3 billion in getting batteries out there, we want the money to actually go towards the batteries.
Yeah.
We don't want to find out that we spent $1 billion on unnecessary compliance.
Yeah. Yep.
That to me just would be a waste of all of our tax dollars. We need to streamline things.
No, look, I agree. I mean, I think this is a huge investment that the government's put in, and you wouldn't want to spend half of it on red tape.
Definitely.
That would be,
Look, we're starting to rant a little bit. I want to get into some installation stuff now. It's good. I want to get into some installation, some technical stuff. So obviously you're an electrical inspector. So the good, the bad, the ugly, what are some of the biggest defects you're seeing at the moment? Obviously, we've got batteries really picking up in the last few months. We've probably seen 5 or 10 times more batteries going out than you normally would.
Yep.
What are the top defects you're seeing around batteries at the moment, or what are your big concerns?
With batteries, I think the thing with batteries I'm seeing at the moment, there's still a bit of a lack of understanding as to the locations of batteries, and I feel like that's quite a big one. I feel like there's a fair bit of grey area around that too, so I can sort of understand where some of that's coming from. You're talking about when you're talking about egress points, you've got to be able to get past batteries to be able to get to an exit, and especially down like the sides of houses where it's a bit skinny. I feel like that's a bit of a grey area, which I find myself going through the standards all the time, trying to read it word for word. So,
do we have different batteries that have different clearances in front of them? Correct.
Yeah, that's right. Well, you always need to make sure you adhere to the manufacturer's instructions, no matter what, with what's in a battery. Not just the front, it's also on the side. So if you've got like AC terminals and you have a removable cover, you need to be like 900 mil away from. You need to have 900 mil working space into those AC terminals, unless the manufacturer states something otherwise. So that's a rule a lot of people aren't quite aware of, and that's it's in black and white in 5139. So that's
5139. Haven't you read it?
I was actually going. Here's the thing. This is how pathetic my life is. Sometimes I was actually going through it this morning, just clarifying a lot of stuff. But yeah, so that's one thing though. Locations of batteries is probably one thing. The thing with the mechanical protection, like the whole bollard thing.
So clearances, I mean, you basically think it's 900 above, 600 to the side, ideally, unless there's a wall.
Yep.
No, away from windows, away from anything flammable.
That's right.
Away from gas meters.
Pretty much, yeah.
Pretty much. Well, the vague rule I came up with my sales team was like, we need 2 meters by 2 meters.
Yeah.
Basically, 2 meters up, 2 meters across. That's the wall. That's what Tesla Powerwall, bang, right.
Imagine if you had them all the time, jeez.
I know, but we work so many jobs in like inner city areas. Like, we're working, Northcote, blah, blah, blah. But okay. So the clearances, mechanical protection, and this is one of the things that obviously like mechanical protection is not that bad, but this is one of those things where I feel like the semantics becomes confusing because I mean, what are we really talking about? Bollards, right?
Bollards, we are.
Bollards.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what we're saying.
Everyone tiptoes around it, and we are talking about bollards. 100% we are. Yeah. It's not in the standard. It doesn't say you need a bollard, but bollard is the most common method.
That's what I mean. Just I'm going to repeat Elon Musk again. I should. But he said when you're explaining things, don't be clever, be clear.
Yeah.
Be clear. It's a bollard. We're a bollard. We're 2 bollards. But tell me about the bollards because the interesting thing about the bollards is we were putting one bollard in front of it, and then Solar Victoria, my interpretation was they came up with a rule which goes above and beyond the original battery standards, where in many cases they wanted 2 bollards. Correct?
I'm not sure if it was above and beyond. I think some of the guidance, if it's the same one I'm thinking of, it's something that's come out from ESV. So I don't think Solar Vic would do something like that and make it mandatory without consultation with ESV. That's just usually not how they would operate with these sort of things. But there was some guidance that came out that did seem to clarify some rules, and a lot of people did interpret that as them making them stricter. But I think what they were trying to do is just clarify when they actually are required and when they're not. But yeah, you're right. A lot of them now need 2. You need to have 2 sometimes, or you need to think about another location.
Solar Victoria did release a document after we got defected for only having 1 bollard, and actually they were pretty upset. Let's at a minimum, let's say that, and they sent us the sheet and blah blah blah. You need 2 bollards, and then they said, "Oh, didn't you see the update of the email that we sent out where you click on this and it goes to another link and it's got instructions of all these photos?" And I was like, "Oh, I missed that email." Like. Okay, I don't know. I'm sorry, I missed the email. They're like, well, blah, blah, blah. It's not compliant. So, okay, we'll put 2 bollards or we'll put bigger bollards, whatever we need to do in front of the batteries. But so, I mean, with garages, but that causes problems because a lot of customers don't want the bollard.
No, that's 100% right. I've come across that. I've come across that a lot. I've been to jobs where the bollard's been removed by the customer, and you can actually see the Dynabolt still in the floor. And they're like, you speak to them and go, look, your car could hit this, and they say, oh yeah, I took it out, and it's like, okay, so there's nothing you can really do about that. Like, if I'm an inspector signing that off as a prescribed sign off, I would say, no, that's not being signed off until that bollard's in place, and then I'll sign it off. And then after that, it's your property. You do what you want with it. Nothing to do with me. All right. But if I'm going there for an audit, you can't really tell a customer that, what they've done is to their property is incorrect. So I can't really condemn it because it's not unsafe. So
yeah. It's an interesting one where the bollards are dynabolted into the ground, and then the inspector comes, and then once the inspector comes, and the bollard just magically disappears.
Yeah. I've definitely seen it, but they're not that popular. I mean, I do like the new one. I don't know if you've seen the new white ones with the
SIG Energy.
I think they're the SIG ones. They are the SIG ones.
They come from Energy Spurt.
Yeah, right.
Energy Spurt was supplying them with the SIG Energy batteries, but they look like the white ones that we bought up a lot of them.
Yeah, they look cool. Like, I mean, I never thought I'd like a bollard so much. I look at it and go, there's nothing wrong with this. This is all right. This looks better than this big yellow thing sticking up at least. But yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind them. Anyway,
I always wondered about so let's talk about the let's dig into the why. Like, I think we mentioned this earlier. You know, like, they make a regulation, but people don't understand why, or sometimes it just doesn't make sense.
Yep.
I think, like, with a bollard and a battery, if a car reverses into the bollard, isn't it just going to hit the bollard into the battery and have the same effect? Isn't it just going to be the bollard mashed in between the car and the battery, and then it's going to be the same amount of impact?
Yeah, I mean,
do you agree?
Yeah, well, I think that's possible. Do you know where I'm coming from? Yeah, absolutely. I think that's possible. I think the idea is to, then alert the driver that they've hit something which is not the battery. But look, I can 100% see a world where that would happen. Especially if you get someone who's jumped in the car, they hit the accelerator instead of the brake or something like that, and all of a sudden, I could see a world where that could happen for sure.
Yeah, Bollards. So, what are the other defects you're seeing?
Yeah,
with from an electrical perspective, are you having any issues like wiring issues, breaker issues?
Well, the one thing I will mention is probably like the one of the more serious ones, which has only really come of light over the last sort of 12 months or so, maybe 24 months. But there's two testing defects in batteries when there's a backup mode, when there's an alternative supplier connected to them. The first one, when you have a parallel earthing path when it's in backup mode. So there are some backup inverters out there which will create a parallel earthing path, and that will, when it goes into backup mode, you will end up having current flowing through your MEN link or through through the earthing conductor coming on your backup circuit. That can be pretty dangerous. So I'm still seeing that. That's something that's I'll usually come across at least once a week. Which is an issue. So that's the first one. And then the other one is the lack of neutral continuity when a system's in backup mode. So that would basically mean the neutral is not continuous in backup mode back to the main neutral bar, and that means your RCDs aren't going to work. So in case you have some sort of fault, your RCDs won't work in backup mode, and that can be an issue.
How would they do that? Did they move the main neutral?
Usually there's a few different ways from my understanding of how this can happen. So a lot of the time it's a product manufacturer. So either it might be set to settings which is not Australian, and they might switch the neutral conductor, and then the neutral is not then going back all the way.
A battery that has a backup feed coming out of the battery.
That's correct.
Throughput.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a couple I'm thinking like Alpha, SIG, I think.
SIG. I don't think SIG do. I don't think SIG do. Alphas definitely do.
Anchor do.
Anchor do. I'm not sure of the Anchor one.
Have you inspected an Anchor?
I don't think I have actually. No, I don't think I have.
We've got a couple come through.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in the Anchor product to see how they.
I've heard a little bit about them, but I haven't seen any out of the wild yet.
Yeah. We can send you one. We sold 5 or 6.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, good. No, they looks good. So that's one of the tests I do is put it into backup mode and then check for continuity going back from a backup active back to the main neutral bar. If you've got 230 volts, you're sweet. So it's a really easy test to do. That's sort of one where installers are missing. And that to me, that's a little bit concerning that they're not doing their verification and testing at the end of the job. So that's how that can be missed.
To the main neutral.
Yeah, it's just one of the tests. Yeah, that's right. There's 2 tests. Those 2 tests are 2 of the tests that they need to do. So checking the parallel earthing path and then checking the neutral continuity. So those are stepped out in the new AS4 777.1 that became mandatory last year. So so they're the 2 that are the concerning ones at the moment that I see. And if I wasn't seeing so much of that, I think like a lot of the stuff you're seeing in batteries, considering where we are, the curve, as you would speak. I think they're doing reasonably well.
I think we're in a good position. I think the industry is running really well. It's running really smooth at the moment. We've just kind of taken all our systems and our staff that were focused on solar and moved them over to battery, which a lot of them were already doing battery 30, 40% of the time anyway.
Yeah.
So we're just kind of reallocating resources to something else. And the systems seem to come through to batteries pretty well. But the one thing I wanted to clarify a lot is the backup circuits being on RCD.
Yeah.
Now there's a bit of back and forth around that, and there's a bit of argy-bargy around updating boards and breakers boards that are kind of okay that already have RCDs there. What is the exact ruling around backup circuits on RCD? Yeah,
sure. So the way it's written now is if you have any backup circuit if you change the supply, so you've got a normal circuit, if you're changing the supply of that circuit to include a feed from the backup, it then must be on an RCD no matter what. Okay, 100%. So then this will depend. If you've got like a normal circuit breaker and you're changing it to an RCD, so you might have a reasonably old system that is not on RCDs. If you then put an RCD on that, it 100% needs to be a Type A RCD. Okay. Now, if you're installing onto a system that's already got existing RCDs, then it's still recommended you put on a Type A, but you still need to make sure you have RCD protection, providing that RCD that's on there met the standards of the day it was installed, which might have been in 1997 or something like that.
But what about Type AC? What's the difference between Type A and Type AC?
All right, so I'll speak about what I know about these sort of things at the moment. So
because we're getting a bit, this is the big sticking point that we're having the confusion between Type A and Type AC breakers as to when we need to swap them over.
For sure. So Type AC RCD. I'm just going to be waiting for someone to listen to this and tell me I'm wrong, but this is my understanding of it. Type AC will detect the difference between the active and the neutral conductors on an AC circuit. Okay, so you basically, when you have the difference of what it is, I think it's 30 milliamps, and you have the leakage current, it will trip. Okay, so it works on an AC circuit, and that's it. Okay, only works on an AC circuit. When you have a Type A, it also has you may have some leakage coming in, which is DC, and it will detect the DC as well, and it may trip it because there's DC current being put into the system. So if
it's connected to a solar inverter and the solar inverter has DC, and then there's
it's more likely
the earth.
Yeah, well, that's right. So there's more. This is more likely to happen now, right? Because all of solar and batteries, you've got DC circuits sort of running everywhere. So you're more likely to have DC leakage and into your electrical system. And if you have AC type RCDs, it's not going to trip in that event. So that's where the difference is. So that's why all new RCDs that are required to be installed in the standard now state they must be Type A to detect both. I hope that's right, everyone. Let's see. I'll wait for someone to pick me up, but yeah, that's my understanding of it. That's my understanding of it.
I'm just thinking. So Type AC for solar is it type if it's if it's connected to a solar system or a battery system, Type AC, or if it's just a backup circuit, Type A. Is there a kind of generalish rule that we can simplify this with? Or?
Well, no. If it's any new system, anything new that's being installed, and you're putting an RCD in, you must install a Type A, right?
Okay.
But you can potentially, there might be a world where you're able to leave an existing Type AC RCD, and you may not have to change it to a Type A as per what the standard says. Okay, that's on a backup circuit. So there might be a world where you could do that, but it's always recommended to put the Type A in, especially if you've got solar and batteries in and around that.
And what are you seeing up on the roof at the moment? Like, I know there's still solar installs going in. What are the biggest issues you're seeing on the roof with solar?
Look, to be honest, it's got a lot better. It 100% has got a lot better in Victoria. Like, we're not seeing things. I hardly ever see like clamping zones now as a major issue. Maybe, and that could be a little bit around. I feel like a lot of the panel manufacturers have maybe relaxed their clamping zones a little bit compared to what they used to be. Some of them used to have like a 100 mil spot where you'd had to have your clamps, and I feel like I haven't really seen many of them around now. So that's one thing I see. Earthing is still a big one, where the earthing is either not continuous to every panel, Or you're seeing things like the earth lug on the rails, put on the top of the rail, and the panel lays down on top of that, and it hits the back of the panel. May not be as much of an issue now because a lot of the back sheets now, a lot of the panels don't have back sheets on them, so it's not going to damage the back sheet, but it can still damage the structure of the panel, and you can end up with an earth fault. And so I still see a fair bit of that, more than I should. That's probably one where I'm like, it actually takes 1 or 2 seconds longer just to put it on the side of the rail. So you're better off just doing that. It's actually not even any harder.
When you said earlier that you go to some installations every now and then and you catch something really bad and you shut it down and you stop the issue before it's an issue, like, give me some examples of what are the really bad things that you've seen? Like, what are some of the worst things you've seen?
This is, you talking about like
name names.
No, of course not.
Like, what's some of? I just want to get a perspective of. I want to paint a picture of like what does a good solar installation look like, and then firstly, what does a really bad solar installation look like?
Yeah, sure. All right. So the first one, I've actually had one very recently. Which was unsafe. Okay, so I had to shut that part of the system down, and all it was is there was a AC main switch inverter supply in a separate enclosure, and all it was is the cable terminated into that circuit breaker was loose. Right? I know, such a simple thing, and by the time I got there to look at it, it was almost on fire. Like I looked at it and going, oh geez. I opened it up and it was not in a good way. So that's one of the things, the times I say, it actually feels good because I was able to go to this person and say, this is actually not safe. Here's the reason why, and this is what's happened. But so for me, that's just a fundamental AS3000 thing that you get taught very early on in your apprenticeship to make sure your cable terminations are tight.
But that's it. Look, I've been I'm not on the tools anymore, but so I'm coming up to nearly 20 years, I guess. So I'm 37 and I started when I was 18. So So like over 20 years of pretty much being an electrician on the tools for 15 of them. I'm not going to say I've never forgotten to tighten a terminal.
For
There's
sure.
been once
We've all done it.
There's been once or twice where customers called. I've had to go about, I forgot to tighten up. Like it's. I can see how you'd make that mistake, and part of me feels bad, but like I don't know. There really has to be some kind of due diligence at the end of the installation to go through and triple or double check at least all those terminals are tight. For sure. Because it can happen so easily. One loose terminal can start a fire. That's right. So, and they're the ones I've seen that are quite bad. Like, you see a bad result and you see an unsafe. Usually it is fundamental AS3000 things. Like I've seen a few where it was loose in the neutral bar and it's like cooked the whole neutral bar. It's gone like a hypercolor neutral bar. It actually changes color as it heats up. Yeah, it does. There's bits of blue and pink and purple in there, and it changes color. And I've seen a bit of that. Or there was another one I had where an AC isolator had a crack in it, and I think some water's got into it, or maybe they've tightened it up too much. I'm not sure, but similar thing. And the connection was burnt out, and all carbonized, and potentially could have been a fire. So it's those fundamental AS3000 things where I think they're the things that potentially could be unsafe. When you talk about what does a good install look like? Yeah, what is when you get to a good install and you see the installer's name and you're like, oh no, this guy's a gun. Yeah. Like, what do you expect to see when you get there? It's kind of hard because you're still got to be impartial, right? You see someone's name, and this is the thing, we do see their names. Yeah. And you got to sometimes, like I try not to look at their names. I mean, we have to, when you're doing an audit, you've got to look at their name so it's not a conflict of interest with them, right? So you need to know that it's not a conflict. But there's sometimes like you do see people and you're like, well, you're probably going to be all right with a few different things. You still need to check it, but you do have a level of confidence that you haven't missed something. Yeah. So that's where it helps. And on the other hand, you do see some installs where you see the name come up again and again, and you're like, oh, no, what am I going to find today? And a lot of the time it is the same stuff. You do find the same stuff, whether it's only using one tile foot into the rafter when they screw the bracket in. Or they just make no effort at all to grind their tiles, or they're doing stupid stuff like MC4 connectors, not like for like that. Well, I was about to bring that up, because that used to be. I remember 2020 was a big crackdown on the MC4 connectors, for sure. Because And it was funny. It's not funny, but a lot of people were doing subcontract work. So there was like young installers, and they were working for big companies, and they just get given the gear in the morning, and they don't know what it is, and they just go, oh, here's a couple MC4s. They just throw them whatever, and then the guys would be on site, and they'd be like, well, this is what we got. We either don't have any of the matching ones in the van, or we can't be bothered going for a drive. So let's just connect it up and see how we go. And then you would see audits come through 6 months later from TechSafe, mismatch MC4s, and I've even seen instances of fires starting at the MC4 connection because they weren't the same type.
That's right.
Of the same brand.
100%. It used to be a huge thing. I think there's a lot of awareness around that now, and I think, look, most in connectors that are out there are using MC4 or the Evo 2, which are compatible with each other. There's not many panel manufacturers out there that don't use it, and I don't know, maybe I just look down on the ones that don't a little bit. I look at it and go, oh, why aren't you just using MC4s? Everyone's using it. We know they're good. But it doesn't seem to be as much of an issue as it used to be, I think. But it's still something you do see. You still see those cheap ones, which is it's a bit of a shame. I actually don't like. There's a few inverter manufacturers that are not using MC4s as well, or some of them are using like into where they plug into the bottom of the inverter on the PV. Look, I think SIG's one of them. They don't use MC4s. They've got, I think it might be Amphenol or something like that. Different connectors that they use in there. So, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with those, but I just sort of, I don't know, I personally prefer the MC4. They're easy to remove, and I quite like them.
Can I ask you then, what do you think about SIG Energy? Because it's been getting some mixed reviews. There's been people kicking off about it online.
Yeah.
A lot of people love it, and then there's been a bit of backlash. Some people, they don't reckon there's adequate protection around the cabling and the plastic. How do you think SIG Energy compares to other batteries that you've been inspecting?
You're trying to see which side of the fence I'm sitting on, which camp I'm in, the SIG or the anti-SIG or the...
I'm interested. I'm just trying to fire you up.
It's easy.
Do you like SIG or not?
Yeah, I do. Well, okay, there's a few things. Like I could easily just play straight back to this and go, look, mate, I'm not a products guy. I'm a compliance guy.
But that's what I mean. From a technical perspective, you look at, and even like, I think with a lot of products as well, like what you want to do is, to a degree, you want to minimize the amount of things that the installer has to do, that the human has to do. You want to maximize what's done in the factory in China or Nevada or wherever. And then the installer just comes and connects up the cables and bang, done. And you minimize the amount of times that something could go wrong from human error. Yeah,
for sure. 100%. Look, I get that. Okay, so I'll firstly say that I'm having a SIG Energy installation commissioned at my place today. Okay.
There we go.
So that says a lot, I think. Now, there's been a lot of stuff online about whether the things you mentioned about the enclosures. There's been a couple of quite respected people in the industry who've had a bit of fisticuffs about, warranties, about other enclosures, about reliability, how long they've been in the industry, all those sort of things. Now, I'll play a bit of a straight bat to that to say that I am not the products guy with that. But from what I see, I do quite like having all of that one ecosystem sort of all together in the SIG. I think that's amazing. Like having your inverter, your battery, you can have your EV charger or all those sort of things. You can have all that together, and it's taken a lot of the human element out of it. I was just watching the guys today putting the stacks in, and it's hard yakka because it's heavy, but they just clip in beautifully. Like the first time I'd seen one being installed. It's just great. So, look, I'm a fan. I'd have to say I'm a fan. It does concern me slightly that they haven't been around for long, but if a company is going to hit the market the way they have, I think they're supporting things quite well from what I can see. I've been liking the way they've gone about it, but it's not really my.
I'm pretty impressed with SIG Energy. I went to Germany and I saw their director Tony Zhu. He did a talk at a VIP party. I was fortunate enough to get invited to. And he went his talk about, we want to be number one. We want to be the best. We're going to have the best hardware. I'm doing the Chinese accent. It's funny. We're going to have the best software. We're going to have the best hardware. And I was like, this guy's good. Like I could feel the passion and the energy. But I think this with SIG, a lot of the SIG Energy haters, like SIG kind of just skyrocketed to the top, and they really definitely leveraged the fact that there was a lot of negativity around Tesla at the time.
Yeah.
And they used that just to slingshot right to the top.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you get to the top, it's hard because there's only one place you can go from the top realistically. But so far, they seem to be doing really well. And I feel like it's just tall poppy syndrome. I feel like people are trying to find something wrong, and all the things that people have said that's wrong with SIG are kind of hypothetical.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. They're like, well, hypothetically, there could be an issue with someone could maybe get their hand around here, or maybe they haven't been in the industry that long, maybe this, maybe that. Like, well, so far, I don't think you can fault SIG.
No, I think so. I think the things that from what I can see, and I'm not on the ground installing, but a lot of the feedback I hear from people is some of the support is different to the way a lot of other companies have done their support. Like I know they've outsourced some of their support. I think Omnidian are doing some of their support. Like you can get them to help out with tech support. They've also trained up and enabled a lot of sales consultants to learn about the product, and that's my understanding. You'd probably know a little bit more about that.
That's correct.
Yeah.
They've trained up. I've got representatives at every supplier of SIG.
Yeah, and that's for me. That's an efficiency thing. I don't know. You look at the way Fronius do it, right? You call up Fronius and you get someone on tech support in the office, and you do hear every now and then people on hold for 3 hours or whatever it is. You hear that. We've all heard the stories. I don't mind the way SIG Energy have thought about it a little bit differently and gone, well, we're going to empower all these other people and teach them about our product, and this is going to be another way to do it.
Well, what I like is they have their Facebook groups for every region in Australia and then overseas, and they have people actively monitoring the group. So if you post in there's a couple people there'll always be someone who will reply and say, hey, all right, I've got the answer. Yeah. Or we can look into it, blah, 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 give you a name and all that. But for us as well, we've obviously got a good relationship with our suppliers where we've managed to get WhatsApp chats as well, which is great because obviously you're on site, you can just WhatsApp them, and then there's 3 or 4 people, representatives in the chat who can come in and answer. So that's really good. That's something we haven't managed to get out of people like Fronius yet. No disrespect for Fronius, they make a great product, but they're starting to, the size of their company and the history behind their company, they're they make really good quality stuff, but they're just a little bit slower to move at the moment. They're just a bit of a big ship going in one direction. Yeah, look, I totally get that. And if you talk about the criticism that has been of SIG, one in particular, it's the video like Mark Kavanagh did, where he spoke about different. He was worried about the product because they hadn't been around for too long. And he's always been with Fronius. And I think, look, that decision that he made may suit his business, right? But I don't think it suits everyone. And I think there's definitely a spot for SIG, and at the moment it's at the top, right? I would suggest that Mark is probably going to be buying SIG for his customers in the next few years, because it's the products. I mean, it seems to be pretty good. So, it depends how you want to run your business, right? I mean, I see what Mark's doing, and I don't know a huge amount about how he runs his business. So if he ever listens to this, he may correct me, but they seem like they're like, this is what we think is the best, and this is what we recommend for you, and they really drive it in. Whereas, I mean, for our business, we're kind of like, here's the top 5 products. These are the top 2 products. Yeah. This is definitely the one that I recommend. However,
these are okay as well.
However, like personally, I will push Tesla Powerwall. Yep. And then look, but if you don't like Tesla Powerwall, SIG Energy is a great option. And if you're interested in SunGrow, if your friend's got SunGrow or whatever and they loved it, you really want SunGrow, it's not massively our thing, but we can do that as well. Yeah. So we give the options, and we kind of go where the market goes as well. Like if the demand obviously moved towards SIG, we're like, well, our business has to move with where the customers are going. Yeah. But speaking of different batteries though, I want to get back into some technical stuff. Sure. We've had some issues, little kind of disputes, if you will, around Tesla Powerwall 3 now. Yep. they had a lot of issues getting approved in Victoria because there was, I don't know exactly, there was some roadblocks by someone at ESV.
Yeah.
I believe they weren't happy with the labeling because the inverter can switch between 5 kilowatt, 10 kilowatt and 11 kilowatt.
Yeah,
kVA
that's my
outputs.
understanding, yeah.
And they didn't like that the label said all three, and they wanted the label to say one. And Tesla didn't want to just bring out different models with different labels for whatever reason. I thought that would be a good solution, but they were going back and forth for months on this. And then they finally got approval. And now I've been told by someone, I think Solar Victoria were waiting on approval from ESV. And
That's right.
They released a thing saying that we have to have a circuit breaker rated to the maximum fault current being 63 amps.
Yep.
And then that then... Again, if you have to read between the lines or interpret that in a different way, what they're trying to say is that you need to run a 16 mil cable to the battery.
Yep.
Instead of what we would usually run a 10.
Yeah.
Now, upgrading from a 10 mil cable to a 16 mil cable, particularly if it's a long cable run, is really expensive.
It's a big deal. Yeah.
It's a big deal. So it's kind of a big problem, particularly for us, to be honest. We already had some in the field and then we got told, hey, that's not okay. So we're like, what are we going to do about this? So
Yep.
Tesla Powerwall, I believe it's fault current 63 amps. Does it have to be on a 63 amp breaker with a 16 mil cable in your opinion or your understanding?
Well, so we talk about working in the grey a little bit. I live in the grey. Yeah, the grey. I would suggest, so I've done, I don't know, a bunch of Powerwall 3s now, and I don't think I've seen one with 10 mil yet. Now, that's not to say you can't do it. So I would look at it and be asking the question. There may be some instances where you can get your 63 amps out of that 10 mil, in which that would be okay. All right, so that would be one thing I'd look at. The other thing I would look at is, could you potentially, like I would be asking Tesla the question of this, because I'm not sure the answer 100%, but could you potentially have your 63 amp breaker for the Powerwall, but then your gateway grid supply have that as like a 50 amp breaker? Because I don't know if the Tesla actually specify that you can't do that. So
did you say there's a 63 amp breaker in the Powerwall?
No. You have your main switch battery, like what's it called now? Your main switch inverter supply as a 63 amp breaker. So in it might be in, you can put that in your gateway. You can put that in your main switchboard or wherever you connect it to. So if you have that. You have that as a 63 amp breaker, but your gateway supply, which comes from your mains, might only potentially be a 50. So, but I don't.
If you have 10 mil mains going in and out of the gateway, limit the house to 50 amps.
That's right. Essentially, you're current limiting your backup to 50 amps. So now I don't know if Tesla say you can't do that or not. I haven't read that they said you can't do that, because so you're still actually giving your 63 amp fault current, if that's what they're asking for. Well, you're giving a circuit protection of 63 amps, but you're limiting your backup or your house to 50 amps. So that I'd be asking that question, but I don't know the answer to that because I haven't seen.
I did some calculations yesterday, and I hope I remember correctly. I believe the maximum continuous current out of a Powerwall 3 was 48 amps. Mm-hmm. So I would have thought a 50 amp breaker is fine, but the 63 is to do with surge current.
Yeah, right.
If the battery goes off grid and then it needs to pull X amount of current fast to start up an air conditioner while it's disconnected, it may go over 50, and that's why it needs a 63. Is that your understanding, or is that?
No,
I'm trying to wrap my head around why we need the 63, because it just doesn't seem necessary to me.
I mean, if this is the thing, if it's in the manufacturer's instructions, it almost doesn't matter why, because Tesla have said this is why we need to do it, and that's just why you need to do. I mean, I know you probably don't like that because someone said you need to do something and you just need to do it. But that's how I would approach it. If they said you need it to be 63, I would say it needs to be 63. But I would also say that there are some times where you would get 63 out of a 10. There might not be many, and it might have to be on a short run. But yeah, I don't know. Like this AS3008, that document, like that can be quite useful in these situations, and sometimes you can get more of a rating than you think. But yeah, look, that's something I wouldn't like confirm or anything like on a without looking into it. That's for sure.
I do need to make some more calls to Tesla to confirm what we're doing about that. But yeah, I think in the meantime, 16 mil cable is just going to be what's required.
Yeah,
which is unfortunate. I mean, because all this stuff just increases the cost to the customer. It's just more, it's an extra $300, $500, whatever it is.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
If you forward it to the customer.
I agree. If you can get that 63 amps out of your 10, then it's kind of a no-brainer to run 10 because there's no point running a 16, So hopefully, I don't know, you have to look into if you can or not.
Well, the thing is, even my house where I live in a 2-story townhouse.
Yep.
It's got a reverse cycle heating and cooling on both levels, and we have electric car charger because we both have electric cars. Even the other night, so I was running my heating and cooling and trying to charge my car at the same time, and I cut the power out. Because it have a 50 amp breaker at the board. So 50 amps isn't enough. Like, I'm quoting a job right now with a guy. We're doing air conditioning, car charger. A guy actually works at Tesla, looking at putting a 22 kilowatt hydronic heat pump in as well. And he's on single phase. And this is becoming very common where we're just fully electrifying people's houses and cooktops as well, electric cooktops. We're finding it's actually still fairly common to come across houses with 6 mil mains.
Yeah.
I see it a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just not cutting it now with the electrification, is it? Like, it needs to be bigger. As soon as you get off gas, obviously it seems to be that 6 mil mains isn't going to cut it.
6 mil definitely not, but even you're 10 or 16. Even what I'm kind of saying is, for a big house, a lot of houses are single phase, and they just keep adding on. Even 63 is starting to be.
You need to look at the 3-phase maybe on some places.
The amount of current. I shouldn't talk about what I've seen because I've seen some things, but I've seen a Tesla gateway on the active, the L1 terminal. It was tightened and it burnt out.
Yeah, right.
Just basically caught on fire, and the reason is because this homeowner was running 50 amps through it continuously, flat out. Because from my opinion, our electrical systems in our houses in Australia are designed for loads to kind of pop off and come down and go up.
Not to be continuous like that.
Most people are pulling 2-3 kilowatts base load or whatever. People aren't used to pulling 50 amps just flat out continuously. It's like relentless, like especially electric car chargers. It's just like bang, it's 7 kilowatts or whatever, 12, if 3-phase 12. But you're usually 7 kilowatts, right? Flat out 7 kilowatts. Then turn on the aircon, turn on another aircon, go in the kitchen, start cooking. But electric hot water heat pump, that kicks in, even though that doesn't use much power, but it all adds up. No, that's right. No, I agree. I think what we're asking of our electrical systems is, it's never been more, and I think it's just going to increase with more people getting off gas. And that's just something I want to bring up. A lot of people don't think about it. They just think their house can just keep pulling more and more power. They don't realize that there's a limit.
Absolutely.
We actually had to redo our contracts, so just to make sure people understand, like, look, we're going to install this stuff. But if your main switch trips because you're using too much power, that's not on us.
Nah, it's not. Is it? That's it. You need to make sure the infrastructure's in place. That's 100% on the homeowner, most definitely.
Yeah, well, it's not on the homeowner, but it's just like, it's just realistic. It's just electrical. It's physics. The system can only take so much. It's
that's right.
You could get a cheap car, and you could go to Germany and you can drive on the Autobahn. That doesn't mean you can do 250 km an hour.
That's it, exactly.
Like, that car can only get up to 120 or 130, and that's it. Sometimes people are there's a limiting factor, and for many people that is the cable going from the point of supply to the pole on the street. That's the issue. Are you doing many mains upgrades?
You know what?
Are you expecting a lot of them? Truck appointments?
No.
Don't like them?
Stick away from them. I don't see myself as much of a connoisseur on the service installation regulations. I hate that document. I've done a few in the past and then looked at stuff and gone, oh, geez, I couldn't just be over this every day. Honestly, solar's enough for me. Solar and batteries is enough for me to keep me busy and enough to know, we're talking before, people's brains only got so much capacity. Like, mine's pretty full with solar and battery stuff as well. So I try and steer clear of them, to be honest, mate.
That's the thing, but people's brains can only handle so much. That's what I've come to realize. I know, especially I went through a phase trying to learn as much as I could, and it's like, you need to kind of really hone in on some things because your brain can only retain so much information. It takes a lot of time to consume it, to learn it. You got to go over these things again and again. You got to do it practically, see it in place, make the mistakes, fix the mistakes, then you learn.
For sure, I agree, and I feel like a lot of people have got like different learning styles where they'll learn from repetition. Other people will learn from being visual learners. Other people will do things and they'll see things, and not everyone's the same. And I've definitely so that was sort of part of the reason we put our training platform together, which may as well give it a bit of a plug. It's Southwell Solar Training.
Yeah, tell us about the training platform you set up.
Yeah, so I felt like there's a bit of a gap in the learning and I suppose the professional development and the CPD of the solar industry. Like, we're asked to do a lot as solar installers, and you've got to be over a lot. Since the CEC were around, you had to get your 100 points of continuous professional development every 12 months, and I feel like that was sort of fueled. People were getting those a lot by what I would have called beer and pizza nights. And like that was, and it was either
so many jokes coming out tonight because I just have flashbacks in my mind's eye of I was there solar cutters night.
Exactly.
It was lit. Everyone was we could see for everyone.
Exactly. And look, as much as I think there is a place for that sort of stuff, and as an industry, we need to network and we need to all talk about things, and that's another way people learn. Mm-hmm. But having those nights as the primary way of getting your CPD, I saw that as a bit of an opportunity where we can actually do something better. We can actually have a platform where, I thought I could sort of teach the learnings that I've found being an inspector and being in the industry for years, and put it into a platform where they're able to get their CPD and actually learn something. So they may not necessarily be learning something new, but I don't think that's the vibe of what CPD is meant to be all about. You might just be doing a refresher about stuff you already know. And we try to do it in a way which is easy to learn, easy to digest. You try and make it a little bit fun where you can, but it is a bit of a dry topic. But I feel like some of the other ones that are out there, like where your mandatory CPD and those sort of things, some of them are like really dry, and I'm like, ugh, I can't get through it like myself, just the way with my learning style is. So we've tried to do something a little bit differently, a lot of video content and showing a lot of the stuff I see in day to day, which, hopefully is helping people.
I actually had another business owner reach out to me this week, and he just said, I just want to catch up and have lunch with you, just want to network. I said, okay, cool. He said, yeah. And he goes, it's really hard because I'm running this business and I have all these challenges and I don't know who to talk to about it, and I haven't really networked with that many people. And I was like, okay, that's cool. Like, we'll have a chat. Tell him about, here's all my problems. Hilarious stuff. But yeah, I think there is a lack of, I think, networking in the industry to a degree. I think it'd be good. Even like, I don't want to make it sound like you were just doing the typical online course, Pat Southwell online course. But what I've seen a lot of those types of courses do is set up communities on the side. Yeah. So there'd be online community, because I know there's some groups on Facebook, but to be honest, I think to a degree, some of those groups can become toxic at times where you post something and you just get grilled, and it's not, I don't think that's helpful to the industry. I think it would be nice if there was a group that was maybe somewhere off Facebook and kind of a forum. I know Kajabi is good for these. I mean, a few for some other business groups where you post a question and everyone just jumps in and helps each other, and there's a community there. I think. Is
that like what SIG are doing with their WhatsApp? Do they do WhatsApp groups and that sort of stuff? Do they do those sort of things? Or is that SIG don't really have that sort of community?
They have their Facebook groups where they have the community.
It's still Facebook, isn't it?
Yeah. They do have Facebook groups that they're okay to see groups, but I don't know, maybe just something for the community to kind of get in and people network, and maybe even do some smaller networking events that different outside of, the normal stuff at the conference or whatever. Yeah. So the problem is the conference get very busy as well. Like, I get it. So there's always like so many different things going on at the same time. Yeah, that's it. It's hard to get around, in your 2 days that you're going to be there or whatever. And you still want to catch up with people as well. And you want to learn, you want to get your CPD or whatever you want to do. You want to catch up with your manufacturers. I don't really have that problem. They usually, they're usually trying to stay away from me, most of them. I don't think, I said on my own last podcast, I don't think I'm getting any
invites to Germany or to Nevada or anything like that. No one wants it.
I'm waiting for the Nevada one.
Yeah.
I got told there's maybe a trip. Let's not say who. They've dangled the carrot. They said, I probably shouldn't even talk about this stuff. I've been told, if you can hit these targets, we'll fly your team to Texas. And I'm like, well, at least it's, that's how it is.
That's it.
That's how it is at all levels, I know.
About
who you know, who you're buddies with, and all the deals that you do, unfortunately.
Absolutely. I'm sure your team would love that. That'd be quite good.
They've got to hit the targets.
They've got to hit the targets. That's it. I understand. That's how the world works.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, I don't buy into that stuff too much. At the end of the day, I work with who I like and the products that I like and the ones that are easy for us. And if there's perks that come with that, that's awesome. But we found with our team, everyone just wants their life to be easy in the sense of they're not lazy, but you don't want the drama. You don't want headaches. You don't want service issues. You don't want products that are difficult to deal with. You don't want supply issues. You don't want people that are difficult to deal with. You just want things to be streamlined.
Yeah, that's it. I understand. There's no point in having unnecessary hardship. Like the solar industry is hard enough, right? Like we got that much stuff to deal with. It's hard enough. You make it as easy as possible.
It's tough. We need a network. But one thing I wanted to touch on as well, probably one of the last things I think before we get to the end is the stickering. Now I brought some stickers from my warehouse today.
Sure. I can see where this is going.
Yeah, let me get this. So,
all right.
I said to the guys in the warehouse, give me the kits. So, this is apparently the SIG Energy. This is the SIG Energy sticker kit.
Yep.
Is that really what you need to install a SIG Energy battery? Or because this is massive.
Let's have a look. That one on the top left. I'm not sure I need that. And
I get customers come up to me and we put sticker on the board, PV. Okay, then we start putting ES. They go, what's ES? Oh, I don't want that. I have a nice architectural house. Blah blah blah. I don't want these stickers. The stickers are obviously, there's no way around it. It seems to be almost the most important rule.
Yeah, no.
That's the one that we get defected on the most is
100%. No, I understand that. So I can see in here they have used a lot of ones that you may not need. Like they'd only be a sometimes label. For instance, you've got main switch generator here. You're not really going to be needing that unless you do have a generator. There's a few others in here. Geez, a lot of labels in there. Main switch hot water, you're probably not really going to need that. Geez, there's a lot. I tell you what, that's one thing I've always said. The standards committee has 100% failed in trying to reduce the amount of stickers that are required on a solar install because they just keep getting more and more. And it's like some of these, like there's a lot of warning labels here.
Authorized personnel.
Yeah. Well,
how's the average highly skilled qualified electrician supposed to get his head around this? Like there's different sticker packs for different batteries. Yeah. This is a standard battery sticker pack that I've got here. So that was that one, and this is just my guys in the warehouse. I've got a Powerwall 3 sticker pack.
Yep.
Toxic fumes.
Yeah.
This one here actually freaks a lot of customers out.
Yeah.
Toxic fumes.
Especially the skull and crossbones you got on there. Like, does that actually, is that even required? I don't know.
Isn't that a cult, the old skull and bones cult?
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Skull and bones.
Yeah, look.
It's pretty scary for some people as well. And you put the bollards in front, they think, is this thing going to blow up? Like, is my house going to catch on fire? Because that is an objection that we genuinely have to deal with some people.
Absolutely.
Because there are some people that are concerned about electrification. And I always say, we had a firefighter he works with Enphase.
Yeah.
Captain Richard Burt.
Yep.
A lot of people know him. He come down, he said that fires that he sees started from solar at the DC connection points.
Yep.
Usually at the inverter.
Yep.
Like you said, maybe someone was a bit lazy that day. They forgot to tighten the terminal. And now you've got, in the case of a lot of these all-in-one systems, you've got the inverter and the battery or energy controller, the DC connection points built into one unit.
That's right,
so the DC connection points directly above the lithium battery.
Yep.
Does that concern you as an inspector, or is that just something you're like, well, we're going to be pretty careful with this one because...
No, that doesn't really concern me as an inspector. Like, I think a lot of the connection points are all quite safe. I like the fact that most inverters have got like some type of, whether it's an MC4 or DC connector going in, so you don't necessarily have to rely on a screwed terminal, as you know, providing the MC4 is actually done correctly. So I like that. I think we're getting better with that sort of stuff. And you know, you don't have those other common failure points like the DC isolator anymore. I think that was a big thing that we fixed up. So that doesn't concern me really. I must say some of the labels do. Like
some of the labels are pretty scary. Like restricted.
Sure.
You're supposed to put a restricted access sticker. On, I guess, the door which leads to the room where the battery is. In someone's house.
Yeah, I know. It's
does anyone even read this? Like the. What else have we got? Open circuit voltage. Is that still a thing?
No, it's not. You don't need the open circuit voltage to have on there anymore. So that's part of your PV site information label. You do need to have the battery system voltage on there and the current.
Battery system voltage, short circuit current, max DC volts.
Yep, and if it's over DVCA, you need to have a hazardous DC voltage label.
But why?
Yeah, I mean, look,
who rocks up? The firefighter rocks up and goes, "Oh, thank God, that's only."
Look, this is the thing. Like, I don't know if there's a story behind all of that. I'd like to think there was, and it's not just someone who has been a stickler for it, going, "We just need this." But I do feel like we really should simplify a lot of these labels. Like, I like what they've done here. I think I've spoken to you before about how a lot of the labels can be combined. I actually haven't seen them in that one label like that before, and I quite like that. But it's actually pretty scary when you put them all together too. Like when you have them all together, like I like it how they're combined. Yeah, but having them all together, it's like, oh, geez, a lot of stuff going on there.
But this is not premium, okay? Like I installed Tesla Powerwall.
Yeah.
Okay. Premium battery. We work in a house in Brighton.
Yeah.
He has two Tesla Powerwalls, PV. We went to his aircon, $50,000.
Yeah.
Maybe more. Premium thing. He's got a nice car. He's got a Tesla. Maybe sometimes they have a Porsche Taycan or something. They're, we get these people, and then you whack this shit
I know.
right next to it.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, mate, I get it. I totally get it.
And who reads it though? Like who? Do people actually come up and read? Oh, that's the battery chemistry. Thank God, the short circuit current is only 18 amps. Oh, thank God.
Yeah. I know. I understand. I totally understand what you're saying. I mean, and you know, I'd always look to do the typical inspector thing and go, all right, well, let's not just smack them all on the one spot, and you try and put them in spots where they're either a bit more inconspicuous but still obvious enough, and you try and turn around into a positive and make them look good. But I totally get on it. I understand what you're saying, mate. Like some of them, I feel like we overdo it a little bit. And we could reduce a lot of them, but they're the standards, and here we are.
Well,
I don't know
like
what to
I
say.
said to you before we came in, I said, I know you're not the creator of the standards. You're just the inspector. A lot of people, of the standards.
I think I mentioned as well. A lot of people think I do make them up, but I don't.
You just make this. You just go out to jobs and you just make this stuff up, and you go, you're gonna have to come back and fix it. Then you're gonna have to pay me to come back and re-inspect the job a second time. I see what kind of racket you're running.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the other ones I want to bring up. A safety data sheet that we have to leave on site for every battery. Like,
yeah.
Really?
Really? Yeah. Look, it is an important. I mean, it's an important document for if there is an issue, and we do. You do need an emergency services to be able to know what chemicals are on site. In case there is some sort of spillage or there's an emergency or whatever, so they need to know how to deal with it. I don't know. That's about as straight bat as you'll get from me from that. Like it is for emergency services.
Has this ever happened?
I'm not aware of anyone needing it, but I'm sure it has.
There's been a battery that's caught on fire. And the firefighters came out and someone said, "Where's the SDS?"
Oh, look, yeah. Well,
he grabbed it. Okay, NMC. No worries. I know what to do.
Look, again, I mean, a lot of them are quite precautionary. Like even like the green circular label, where it's got the PV or the ES on it. A lot of them are never required, but they're there and they're reflective for fireys to come along, and they can shine a torch on your meter box to know if you've got solar or if you've got a battery system. So they're never really going to be used, but I suppose it's in case they are required, they need to know there's solar or batteries on there.
Yeah. The other one, the other reg that's come in, it's been about 2 years now, I think, that I kind of get this one as the PV site information.
Yeah.
Must be. So the PV site information has to be put in the switchboard, has to be laminated.
Yep.
All that. What do you think of that? Like, do you think that was a good move? Or, I mean, marking the cable runs and stuff is obviously, I can see the benefit behind marking where the DC cables are.
Yep.
Sometimes you don't know, and maybe they might be drilling something, mending the roof, changing the roof. I don't know. Maybe they're changing the roof from tile to tin, and they might want to know. Well, okay, there's some DC cables there. We should be careful.
Yeah. Oh, look,
I guess they would have took the panels off by that point, but
True.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just trying to think. Yeah.
For me, I think this is one of the better ones that I like. So I actually don't mind having this here. So. It's not just about, this is not just for emergency services as far as I'm concerned. Like I think this is good for any potential electrician or anyone else who needs to work on the system and needs to know what's there. And I mean, it's almost a set of as-built drawings. It's not quite that, but it does show you what is there and where all the equipment is. So like, yeah, I think this is a good one. It might be a little bit annoying. But I do like how this is something that we're doing now, and things are documented a bit better. And a lot of installers will put a QR code here with and they'll link that to your documentation, or some of them will have it. They'll just have this as an online document, but others will have it linked to their handover document to the customer. So that can be handy as well. So yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about an instance where? So say Tesla Powerwall, home backups, complicated. Maybe there's a changeover switch, whatever, was installed by a company. And then 2 years later, 3 years later, 5 years later, the homeowner wants to get another electrician out to come and whack a couple circuits in, put induction cooktop, blah, blah, blah.
On the backup, you mean?
Who knows? Because the problem is they'll just get another Sparky who is most likely not solar trained, isn't experienced, and just tell them, can just whack this circuit on and see how you go.
Yeah.
And then there's been instances where things have gone haywire in the Tesla gateway in our instance.
Yeah.
Gone back and been like, well, hang on. Like, we provide a warranty for 10 years on this system and we guarantee it's going to work. But you've called another electrician and the other electrician has messed a whole bunch of things up.
Yeah.
And then maybe it doesn't comply with, the way, it's not the way you inspected it.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that? Do you think that, because of the way it's going, I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is the way it's going, when one electrician goes and rewires the house and gives a warranty on it, is he then the ongoing electrician for that house? No one else can touch it.
Well, I would say that's it's closer to that than the opposite. I mean, I would suggest if you're touching something, especially if he's opened the gateway and stuff with the gateway or connected circuits into it, I mean, really, he's then altered the work that you've done. Makes your warranty null and void, doesn't it? I would have thought your workmanship warranty anyway, because someone else has tampered with your work, really.
Well, especially if they're adding circuits, particularly to the backup.
Yeah.
They could be adding circuits to the backup, and
for sure. I'll tell you what.
Who knows what they're doing?
I'll tell you what. I would hate to be an electrician at the moment, just a house bashing Sparky or whatever, who doesn't know anything about solar or batteries. It'd be bloody scary, I reckon, because there's so many different types of battery systems, and there's so many different supplies and bloody labels and all this stuff. It's so much more complex than it used to be. And if like we're in this every day, right? We kind of got a reasonable understanding of it. Imagine if you just got your A grade and you've been doing houses the whole time and you haven't really done any solar or anything like that. I tell you what, you turn a circuit breaker off and then or you turn off a main switch, everything goes dead. You test it, it's dead, and then 5-10 seconds later the backup kicks in. It's pretty scary. It is pretty scary. So I would want, I wouldn't want to be untrained in solar at the moment, to be honest. You'd want to have those fundamental skills, I reckon.
Do you think Is there any talks of making solar training, and I believe there is, making solar training part of the electrical apprenticeship, like a degree of it?
Yeah, I haven't heard that, but surely it's got to be, doesn't it? Like I did comms, I think, in my apprenticeship. I was like one of the Austel license. I did my Austel license or something like that. Surely solar's got to be one of those electives. Like it's everywhere. It's got to be. Surely it's got to be in the.
Well, what 30% of houses have solar?
Yeah.
So
isn't it 40 now? I think it's 40.
Probably
something.
40. So if you're a general electrician, say 40, let's call it 50 or 40. But all right, let's go with 40. Then you're going to a house. There's a 40% chance it's got something you don't know anything about.
Yep. 100%.
And you're going to go in there and start pulling it apart and rewiring it. Oh, we're going to upgrade the blah, blah, blah. We do this.
They got to know about it. I agree. They got to know about it. So
scary.
Yeah, for sure. It is. That's the thing. I wouldn't want to be doing it now and not know about solar because you could. That's something I think that we've sort of missed the mark a little bit with the education. Because I feel like a lot of those Sparkies don't understand it.
The solar guys just kind of went off on their own and started their own thing on the side and then came back and took over and now,
it seems that way.
It
does seem that way. I reckon.
I think probably the key thing from this I'm thinking is there should be more training on solar and batteries during the actual electrical apprenticeship, so they come out of it even though they might not be accredited to do it, but they at least have the understanding of how to isolate things. But the other thing is like sometimes even just logging into the system is like sometimes that they might need to actually know how to log into a Sungrow or a Fronius or something, and they don't know how to do that to go and check things. And
look, for sure,
export limitations is another thing as well.
Look, there's so many like that. Like we were just talking before about how much is we put on the shoulders of a solar Sparky, right? Add to the list, you got to be an IT guru as well. That's one of the things that you have to do. If you don't know your way around a computer now, you almost can't do solar. What are you going to be doing? Putting rail up? Like, you know what I mean? You've got to know how to do these things, how to log in, how to commission. It's pretty...
Wi-Fi issues.
All that sort of stuff. Like, if you don't know your way around, if you just say, oh, no, I'm old school, I don't do computers, well, you're not going to be doing solar, unfortunately.
Yeah, and unfortunately it all falls on the electrician on the day.
Yep.
The guy who signs that certificate, he takes responsibility for absolutely everything, and if it goes wrong, it's all on him.
Mate, that's the thing. Like that's why I suggest like to all the Sparkies out there who are doing solar, like to surround yourself with good people and education. Like, I mean, obviously I'm going to say have a good inspector, but you need a good inspector who knows their way around this sort of stuff, and have a good network of people that you can bounce these sort of things off, because you're not going to know it all yourself.
Yeah, I remember even nearly 20 years ago, or even maybe say like 15, 16 years ago, when I just come out of my apprenticeship and was looking at going out on my own, I always had 2 or 3 older guys that were about 10 years older than me that I would call... Mentoring you sort of thing? Yeah, nearly every day. Yeah. Looking back now... Because you've been a bit of a pest then, but you're right. But that really helped you, I'm sure. It helped me a lot now. Looking back now, I'm like, man, that was my mentors. I could have gone. But they helped me a lot. And you really need that kind of mentorship or that network of people that you can talk to, because even they tell you about other things that happen, or even employment stuff. Like the big thing I've been talking to a lot of other employers about, or business owners, is employment law. Employment law is changing a lot at the moment. There's a lot of things coming in, like equal opportunity, same job, same pay, and things around trying to make if you need to make people redundant or whatever if someone's not performing. It's a minefield there. There's a whole other thing that a lot of people like, because a lot of these people are business owners. They essentially, even though small business owners, they might just have 2 apprentices or something. Yeah. They still have to deal with that as well. Yeah. Look, that's it. It's just another thing that's been put onto, well, I suppose it would be small business owners, but to deal with all the other stuff, it makes it difficult. I speak to a few people in solar who, when they say their job description, what do you do for a job? And they're like, I'm actually a HR manager, because that's what they do. They're managing these people and having to know these sort of things. So I understand those sort of struggles. Glad I don't, have many staff myself. Don't have to deal with that too much, but it's a minefield. That's like my most hated question when I go to like the doctor's clinic and they're like, occupation. What do you write? I scratch my head every time.
Yeah.
I often just write business owner.
Yeah.
So I used to write electrician, and then
I did that for years too.
I was like electrician, and then I was writing that, and then the doctor's like, oh, so you're on the tools, you're up in the roof, you're breathing dust, you're wearing boots. I'm like, nah, none of that. I'm sitting in the office most of the time, driving around, checking up on the boys, maybe.
Yeah.
It's anyway.
And you don't want to write entrepreneur, sound like a wanker, do you?
That's what I want to write. Is I'm an entrepreneur, but that's the first thing that comes to mind, and then I'm like, no, I can't do that. No.
Yeah, I had that trouble when I worked at the CEC. Like, I actually did not know what my job description was. What am I? Oh, team leader, tech person. I don't know. Didn't know what to write. It's easier now. I can write electrical inspector. Makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah, but even now, you've become so much more than that.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to write, training provider, CPD provider, mentor,
educator, podcaster.
Yeah.
Podcaster is your occupation. Yeah. I don't know about you, but for me, podcasting doesn't pay very well.
No, it's not great. It's not great. It's good to get a message out. I love it to be able to get a message out and speak to great people in the industry. It's really good for that and to share information. But yeah, unless, you got some big sponsor knocking on your door going, oh yeah, we want to jump in with you. It makes it difficult.
No, not Joe Rogan. No.
Exactly right.
Not yet. But yeah, look, that's been a really good chat. While we're still here, is there anything else you want to bring up? Or I think we covered a lot of things there. We made some good ground.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I'd just like to finish off saying, like, I think, I agree with what you were saying earlier. Like, I think we're in a really good spot in this industry at the moment. We've sort of been managed, we've worked our way through this start of the battery rebate, which has been a big boom for most good companies out there. And I think it's been quite good. I think the next 6 months is going to be. I feel like we say this all the time. The next 6 months in this industry is going to be interesting. But
we're going to make money this year.
Yeah, that's right.
Next year.
Yeah,
next year is going to be the big money.
Going to be the big one.
We'll break even this year, and the next year is going to be when we're all going to get rich.
Yeah,
it never comes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I do like the space we're in the industry. Like, we've had a shot in the arm with the battery rebate. There's a lot of batteries going in. Batteries are interesting. I think they're quite fun to look at, and I think. Yeah, honestly, I just love this industry. So that's probably what I want to finish on saying. I just love this industry and the people in it and the work we do. It's just it's a lot of fun, and I really enjoy it.
Yeah, it's good. I just wanted to say the first time I come across your name, I reckon it was maybe 2018, 2019.
Yeah.
And it was TechSafe Audits.
Yeah.
And there was a really big blitz at the time. I was seeing Pat Southwell. And the next one, Pat Southwell. And I'm
you're like, who is this guy?
Who is this guy? Put him on the hit list. I'm like, man. And then I think eventually, I don't know, I think I saw you do some videos online or something. And then I think around Fox, I was like, oh, this guy, yeah. No, he's all right.
Yeah.
He's all right. So it turned out you're all right. But that's why I asked you at the start, how's it feel being an electrical inspector? Because you get mixed emotions, because sometimes sometimes you ruin people's day.
For sure. I understand. No, and I think especially a lot of other inspectors have. Like, I try to portray myself as being quite helpful and quite educational where I can. And that's what I think electrical inspectors should be. But I can see a lot of people think inspectors are just wankers. Like, I can understand why that's a perception, because some of them act that way, and it's it's a perception I'm trying to shake anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. We've got a good network of inspectors now, but there used to be, the old grumpy guys. The twilight years of their career, blah blah blah. But it's going good. Going good. I think everyone in the industry is doing good.
Good
all
stuff.
Right, no worries. Well, thanks for coming in, Pat. It's a good chat, and we'll talk to you again next time.
I appreciate you for having me on. Thanks very much.
No worries. All right. Cheers, Pat.